In the pre-dawn hours of what appeared to be a routine reconnaissance operation, a vehicle system performed exactly as its engineers intended. The Fiat S-42 Sahariana delivered unmatched desert mobility, superior fuel efficiency, and exceptional terrain adaptation. Radio communications functioned normally. Navigation systems reported accurate positions. All vehicle subsystems operated within design specifications. Nothing indicated systemic problems, yet within hours, the mission of control in San Juan Capistrano would demonstrate how technical excellence could guarantee operational failure. This was not equipment malfunction or operator error. The Sahariana functioned precisely as designed, a self-sufficient reconnaissance platform optimized for independent operation across hostile terrain. Its engineering philosophy prioritized vehicle autonomy over network integration. When mission requirements demanded coordinated control across multiple units, the very design assumptions that made the vehicle uncompetitive in individual performance made it incompatible with systematic operational demands. The vehicle's superiority rested on engineering principles that assumed reconnaissance operations could be decomposed into independent vehicle missions. Command structures were treated as external constraints rather than integral system components. When the mission demanded real-time coordination beyond vehicle-to-base communication protocols, the Sahariana's design philosophy became structurally incompatible with operational requirements. How can optimal individual system performance guarantee systematic mission failure through the very design principles that created its technical superiority? The Fiat S-42 Sahariana emerged from a design philosophy that prioritized mechanical simplicity and operational independence above all other considerations. Developed during the height of desert warfare requirements, the vehicle represented the culmination of Italian engineering efforts to create the perfect reconnaissance platform for harsh, isolated environments. Every design decision reflected a fundamental assumption that reconnaissance effectiveness could be maximized through vehicle-level autonomy and minimal logistical dependence. The engineering team approached the Sahariana's development with a clear operational model in mind. Reconnaissance missions were conceptualized as collections of independent vehicle tasks, each optimized for maximum individual effectiveness. The vehicle's four-wheel drive system, oversized fuel tanks, and simplified maintenance requirements all served this philosophy of self-sufficient operation. Navigation equipment was designed for point-to-point movement, with minimal external reference requirements. Communication systems provided adequate vehicle-to-base reporting capability, but were never intended to support real-time inter-vehicle coordination. This design philosophy produced remarkable individual vehicle capabilities. The Sahariana could operate for extended periods without resupply, traverse terrain that stopped conventional reconnaissance vehicles, and maintain reliable communication with command centers across vast distances. In comparative testing, no competing vehicle approached its combination of range, speed, and mechanical reliability under desert conditions. The engineering assumptions appeared validated by every measurable performance metric. The communication architecture reflected these same philosophical principles. Radio equipment was optimized for long-range, low-frequency transmission to command centers, not for tactical coordination between multiple vehicles. Antenna systems prioritized signal strength and reliability over frequency agility or network integration. The communication protocols emphasized status reporting and position updates rather than collaborative, decision-making, or real-time coordination. This architecture perfectly supported the assumed operational model of independent vehicle missions with centralized command oversight. Navigation systems embodied identical design assumptions. The Sahariana's navigation equipment excelled at precise position determination and route calculation for individual vehicle movement. Compass systems, distance measurement equipment, and map correlation tools all focused on enabling accurate independent movement across featureless terrain. However, these systems contained no provisions for synchronized movement with other vehicles, real-time position correlation across multiple units, or coordinated route planning under time-critical conditions. The vehicle's mechanical systems reflected the same philosophical commitment to autonomous operation. Engine design prioritized fuel efficiency and mechanical simplicity over maximum power output. Suspension systems were optimized for sustained high-speed movement across varied terrain. rather than tactical maneuvering in formation. Cooling systems were sized for individual vehicle operation under extreme conditions, but contained no provisions for coordinated maintenance scheduling or synchronized operational tempo across multiple units. This engineering philosophy created a vehicle that was genuinely superior in every individual performance category. Range exceeded competing vehicles by significant margins. Mechanical reliability eliminated the maintenance vulnerabilities that plagued alternative platforms. Communication range and clarity surpassed all comparable systems. Navigation accuracy and route calculation capabilities exceeded operational requirements by substantial margins. By every measure of individual vehicle performance, the Sahariana represented optimal engineering achievement. The institutional context reinforced these design assumptions at every level. Military doctrine emphasized reconnaissance as an information-gathering function performed by individual vehicles operating independently across assigned sectors. Training programs focused on individual vehicle crew proficiency and autonomous operation under isolated conditions. Logistical systems were structured to support independent vehicle deployment and resupply. Command structures assumed that reconnaissance effectiveness would scale linearly with the number of deployed vehicles, each operating according to established individual performance standards. Operational procedures reflected identical assumptions about the relationship between individual vehicle excellence and mission effectiveness. Mission planning treated vehicle deployment as resource allocation problems, with each vehicle assigned independent sectors and objectives. Communication protocols emphasized individual vehicle reporting to centralized command authority rather than inter-vehicle coordination. Tactical doctrine assumed that superior individual vehicle capabilities would naturally translate into superior collective mission outcomes without requiring fundamental changes to coordination architectures. The design team's engineering models contained implicit assumptions about information flow and decision-making that would prove critical under coordination-intensive conditions. Vehicle-level information systems were optimized for individual situational awareness and autonomous decision-making. Command integration was conceptualized as data transmission from vehicle to command center rather than collaborative information processing across multiple vehicle systems. Decision-making architectures assumed that optimal individual vehicle decisions would aggregate into optimal mission-level outcomes without requiring systematic coordination mechanisms. These engineering assumptions created systematic vulnerabilities that remained invisible under normal operational conditions. Individual vehicle missions consistently validated the design philosophy through measurable performance superiority. The Sahariana's capabilities exceeded requirements in every testable category, reinforcing confidence in the underlying design assumptions. Alternative approaches that prioritized coordination capability over individual vehicle performance appeared unnecessarily complex and demonstrably inferior by available metrics. The instrumentation architecture embodied these same philosophical principles through its focus on individual vehicle status monitoring and autonomous operation support. Engine monitoring systems provided comprehensive individual vehicle health assessment, but no provisions for coordinated maintenance scheduling across multiple vehicles. Navigation displays optimized individual route calculation and position awareness, but contained no mechanisms for synchronized movement coordination. Communication equipment excelled at individual vehicle reporting, but lacked the frequency, agility, and protocol flexibility required for real-time inter-vehicle coordination. The false assumption embedded within this engineering excellence was that reconnaissance mission effectiveness could be optimized through the aggregation of optimal individual vehicle performances. This assumption appeared validated by every available metric under normal operational conditions. Individual vehicle capabilities translated directly into measurable mission advantages. Superior range enabled broader reconnaissance coverage. Enhanced reliability reduced mission interruption rates. Improved communication ensured consistent information flow to command centers. However, this design philosophy contained a fundamental logical error about the relationship between individual system optimization and collective system performance under coordination-critical conditions. The engineering assumptions that created individual vehicle superiority actively hindered the coordination mechanisms required for complex mission architectures. When operational requirements demanded real-time coordination beyond individual vehicle capabilities, the design philosophy that eliminated competition in individual performance categories became the primary obstacle to mission success. The Sahariana represented the logical endpoint of an engineering philosophy that treated coordination as an external operational constraint, rather than an integral system requirement. This philosophical framework produced genuinely superior individual vehicle performance while creating systematic coordination vulnerabilities that would prove catastrophic under conditions requiring collective action beyond the sum of individual capabilities. The systematic vulnerabilities embedded within the Sahariana's design philosophy were amplified rather than mitigated by the training, procedural, and institutional frameworks that surrounded its operation. Every element of the human factors architecture reinforced the fundamental assumption that individual vehicle excellence would naturally translate into mission-level effectiveness. Training programs, communication protocols, and operational procedures all operated according to design principles that optimized individual vehicle performance while systematically neglecting coordination requirements. Military training doctrine reflected and reinforced the vehicle's engineering philosophy through its emphasis on individual vehicle crew proficiency and autonomous operation capabilities. Training scenarios focused extensively on individual vehicle navigation, communication, and tactical procedures under isolated operating conditions. Crews developed exceptional expertise in maximizing individual vehicle performance across all measurable categories. Navigation training emphasized precise position determination and optimal route calculation for individual vehicle movement. Communication training prioritized clear, reliable reporting to command centers and effective reception of individual vehicle instructions. However, training programs contained systematic gaps in coordination procedures that would prove critical under mission conditions requiring collective action. Multi-vehicle coordination received minimal training emphasis, treated as a simple extension of individual vehicle procedures rather than a fundamentally different operational requirement with distinct information processing and decision-making demands. Training scenarios that involved multiple vehicles typically focused on parallel individual operations, rather than integrated collective actions requiring real-time coordination and collaborative decision-making. The communication protocol architecture created predictable human factors, traps that channeled operator behavior toward individual vehicle optimization at the expense of collective coordination effectiveness. Standard operating procedures emphasized individual vehicle status reporting and position updates to command centers, establishing communication patterns optimized for centralized information processing rather than distributed coordination. Radio protocols prioritized clear individual vehicle identification and status transmission, but provided no standardized procedures for inter-vehicle coordination, collaborative decision-making, or real-time information sharing between vehicle crews. These communication patterns created systematic biases in operator attention and decision-making priorities. Crews developed highly refined skills in individual vehicle status assessment and reporting, but limited experience in processing coordination-relevant information from other vehicles or command sources. Decision-making procedures emphasized individual vehicle optimization within assigned parameters rather than adaptive coordination responses to changing collective requirements or time-critical collaborative actions. The command structure architecture reinforced these individual-focused patterns through organizational incentives and performance measurement systems that rewarded individual vehicle excellence, while providing no meaningful metrics for coordination effectiveness. Performance evaluation systems measured individual vehicle mission completion rates, navigation accuracy, communication reliability, and mechanical performance. These metrics directly corresponded to the engineering capabilities that made the Sahariana competitively superior, creating institutional feedback loops that validated the design philosophy through measurable outcomes. However, these performance measurement systems contain no provisions for assessing coordination effectiveness, collaborative decision-making quality, or collective mission optimization. Success was defined and measured in terms of individual vehicle achievements aggregated across multiple independent operations. This measurement framework made coordination effectiveness invisible to institutional assessment systems, ensuring that coordination deficiencies would remain undetected until they manifested under operationally critical conditions. The procedural architecture created systematic information processing bottlenecks that would prove critical under time-sensitive coordination requirements. Standard operating procedures optimized individual vehicle information processing and decision-making, but provided no frameworks for distributed information sharing or collaborative assessment of rapidly changing tactical situations. Information flow patterns emphasized vertical communication between individual vehicles and command centers rather than horizontal coordination between vehicle crews operating under shared tactical constraints. These procedural patterns created predictable failure modes under conditions requiring rapid coordination responses. Individual vehicle crews possessed exceptional capabilities for autonomous operation but limited experience in processing coordination-relevant information under time pressure, or making rapid collective decisions that required sacrificing individual vehicle optimization for mission-level objectives. The procedural frameworks that enabled individual vehicle excellence actively hindered the information sharing and collaborative decision-making required for effective coordination. Maintenance and logistical procedures reflected identical organizational assumptions about the relationship between individual vehicle performance and mission effectiveness. Maintenance schedules were optimized for individual vehicle availability and performance rather than coordinated operational readiness across multiple vehicles. Logistical systems prioritized individual vehicle supply and support, rather than synchronized resupply operations that would enable coordinated deployment patterns. These systems excelled at maintaining individual vehicle readiness but provided no mechanisms for coordinating maintenance cycles or logistical operations to support time-critical collective missions. The training environment itself reinforced coordination blindness through its emphasis on individual vehicle mastery and autonomous operation under controlled conditions. Training scenarios consistently validated individual vehicle capabilities and autonomous operation procedures, but provided limited exposure to the information processing demands and decision-making pressures that characterize coordination-intensive operations. Crews developed confidence in individual vehicle procedures and autonomous operation capabilities, but remained inexperienced in the fundamentally different cognitive demands of real-time coordination under operational pressure. Navigation training procedures exemplified these systematic coordination gaps. Individual vehicle navigation training achieved exceptional standards of precision and reliability for autonomous operation across complex terrain. However, navigation training provided minimal experience in synchronized movement coordination, real-time position correlation with other vehicles, or adaptive route planning that optimized collective movement rather than individual vehicle efficiency. These gaps remained invisible during individual vehicle operations, but would prove critical under mission conditions requiring coordinated movement within tight temporal constraints. Communication training exhibited similar patterns of individual excellence combined with coordination inexperience. Individual vehicle communication procedures achieved remarkable reliability and clarity for vehicle-to-command transmission. Crews developed exceptional skills in status reporting, position updates, and instruction reception under difficult communication conditions. However, communication training provided minimal experience in inter-vehicle coordination protocols, collaborative information processing, or distributed decision-making under communication-constrained conditions. The institutional incentive structure systematically reinforced these training and procedural biases through career advancement and recognition systems that rewarded individual vehicle performance achievements. Success in reconnaissance operations was measured and rewarded through individual vehicle metrics that directly corresponded to the Sahariana's engineering advantages. This created powerful institutional pressures that channeled operator focus and professional development toward individual vehicle mastery rather than coordination capabilities that were neither measured nor rewarded. These institutional patterns created systematic cognitive biases that would prove critical under coordination-demanding conditions. Operators developed exceptional expertise in individual vehicle systems and procedures, but limited experience in the information processing and decision-making demands of coordination-intensive operations. Professional identity and operational confidence were anchored in individual vehicle capabilities that had consistently proven superior under all measured conditions. The false assumption embedded within this human factors architecture was that operator expertise optimized for individual vehicle performance would naturally extend to coordination-intensive operations without requiring fundamental changes in training, procedures, or institutional frameworks. This assumption appeared validated by consistent mission success under normal operational conditions where individual vehicle excellence translated directly into measurable mission advantages. However, this human factors architecture created systematic coordination vulnerabilities that remained undetectable under normal operational conditions. The training, procedural, and institutional frameworks that optimized individual vehicle performance actively hindered the development of coordination capabilities that would prove essential under mission conditions requiring collective action beyond the aggregation of individual vehicle performances. The latent conditions were now established. Individual vehicle capabilities exceeded all operational requirements and competitive alternatives. Training systems produced operators with exceptional individual vehicle expertise. Procedural frameworks optimized individual vehicle performance across all measurable categories. Institutional systems rewarded and reinforced individual vehicle excellence through comprehensive performance, measurement, and career advancement structures. Yet embedded within this architecture of individual excellence were systematic coordination vulnerabilities that would prove catastrophic when operational requirements exceeded the design assumptions about mission decomposition into independent vehicle tasks. The stage was set for a failure mode that would emerge not from individual vehicle deficiencies but from the structural incompatibility between individual optimization and collective coordination under time-critical operational conditions. The mission commenced under operational parameters that appeared entirely consistent with established reconnaissance doctrine and vehicle capabilities. Initial deployment proceeded according to standard protocols, with individual vehicle crews demonstrating the exceptional autonomous operation capabilities that had validated the Sahariana's design philosophy through countless previous operations. Navigation systems functioned with characteristic precision. Communication equipment maintained reliable contact with command centers. Vehicle mechanical systems performed within optimal parameters. Nothing in the initial operational phase suggested systematic problems or coordination challenges beyond established capabilities. The mission architecture itself reflected standard reconnaissance planning assumptions about task decomposition and resource allocation. Multiple Sahariana vehicles were assigned to discrete operational sectors with individual objectives that could theoretically be accomplished through autonomous vehicle operations coordinated through standard command center oversight. Each vehicle possessed sufficient range, navigation capability, and communication equipment to complete assigned objectives independently. The mission plan assumed that individual vehicle excellence would aggregate into comprehensive reconnaissance coverage without requiring coordination mechanisms beyond established communication protocols. However, the mission parameters contained coordination requirements that remained invisible during planning, but would prove critical during execution. The assigned operational sectors required coverage within temporal constraints that exceeded the capabilities of sequential individual vehicle operations. Effective reconnaissance of the designated areas demanded synchronized movement and coordinated information sharing that went beyond the standard vehicle-to-command reporting protocols. These coordination requirements were not explicitly recognized during mission planning because they fell outside the established frameworks for reconnaissance mission analysis. The first divergence between operational requirements and system capabilities emerged during the initial deployment phase when temporal constraints began to compress the available decision-making timeframes for individual vehicle operations. Standard navigation and route planning procedures that functioned effectively for individual vehicle missions proved inadequate for coordinated movement that optimized collective coverage rather than individual vehicle efficiency. Navigation systems that excelled at individual vehicle route optimization lacked the computational and communication integration required for real-time coordination of multiple vehicle movements. Communication systems that had demonstrated exceptional reliability for individual vehicle operations began to exhibit systematic limitations under coordination-intensive conditions. The communication architecture optimized for vehicle-to-command reporting created information processing bottlenecks when multiple vehicles required simultaneous coordination. Radio protocols designed for individual vehicle status transmission proved inadequate for the rapid information sharing required for collaborative decision-making under time pressure. The operational tempo demanded by mission requirements exceeded the information processing capabilities of communication systems designed for individual vehicle reporting, rather than distributed coordination. Standard communication procedures that functioned effectively for autonomous vehicle operations created systematic delays when multiple vehicles required coordinated responses to rapidly changing tactical situations. These delays remained within acceptable parameters for individual vehicle operations but proved critical under conditions, requiring collective action within tight temporal constraints. Command center information processing capabilities, optimized for receiving and analyzing individual vehicle reports, proved inadequate for coordinating real-time responses across multiple vehicles operating under shared time constraints. The information architecture that supported exceptional individual vehicle oversight created systematic bottlenecks when rapid coordination decisions required processing information from multiple vehicles simultaneously and generating coordinated responses within operational timeframes. Navigation coordination began to diverge from optimal individual vehicle route selection when mission requirements demanded synchronized arrival times and coordinated coverage patterns that exceeded individual vehicle planning capabilities. The navigation systems that provided exceptional accuracy for individual vehicle movement lacked the computational integration required for multi-vehicle coordination under time-critical conditions. Route optimization algorithms that maximized individual vehicle efficiency proved suboptimal for collective movement patterns that prioritized coordinated arrival and synchronized coverage. The first critical decision point emerged when operational requirements demanded choosing between maintaining individual vehicle optimization and attempting coordination that exceeded established procedural capabilities. Standard operating procedures provided no frameworks for making this decision because the possibility of conflict between individual vehicle optimization and mission-level coordination had not been anticipated during doctrine development or training programs. Vehicle crews faced decision-making requirements that fell outside their training and experience base when mission parameters demanded coordination responses that could not be accomplished through established individual vehicle procedures. The expertise that enabled exceptional individual vehicle performance provided no guidance for coordination decisions that required sacrificing individual vehicle optimization for collective mission effectiveness. Communication delays that remained negligible under individual vehicle operations began to compound into systematic coordination failures when multiple vehicles required synchronized responses within tactical timeframes. The communication architecture that ensured reliable individual vehicle reporting created cumulative delays that exceeded coordination requirements when rapid collective action became operationally necessary. Information processing bottlenecks emerged at every level of the operational architecture when coordination requirements exceeded the design capabilities of systems optimized for individual vehicle support. Command centers experienced processing delays when multiple vehicles required simultaneous coordination responses. Vehicle crews encountered decision-making demands that exceeded their training and procedural frameworks. Communication systems reached capacity limitations under coordination loads that remained well within individual vehicle operational parameters. The mission began to diverge from planned parameters, not because of individual vehicle failures or operator errors, but because coordination requirements exceeded the systematic capabilities of architecture designed for individual vehicle excellence. Each vehicle continued to perform within optimal individual parameters, while mission-level coordination degraded beyond acceptable effectiveness thresholds. Navigation accuracy remained excellent for individual vehicles, while collective movement patterns became suboptimal because navigation systems lacked coordination integration capabilities. Communication reliability remained high for individual vehicle reporting, while inter-vehicle coordination became systematically delayed because communication architecture was not designed for distributed coordination requirements. Vehicle mechanical performance remained optimal, while mission effectiveness declined because coordination demands exceeded individual vehicle capabilities. The operational environment demanded rapid adaptive responses that exceeded the systematic capabilities of architecture optimized for individual vehicle operations under predictable conditions. When tactical situations required coordinated responses within timeframes that exceeded communication and decision-making capabilities, the individual vehicle excellence that had validated design assumptions became irrelevant to mission effectiveness. Decision-making pressure increased exponentially when coordination requirements demanded choices between individual vehicle optimization and collective mission effectiveness without procedural frameworks or training experience to guide these decisions. The expertise that enabled exceptional individual vehicle performance provided no foundation for coordination decisions that required different information processing and decision-making capabilities. The point of divergence had been reached where individual vehicle capabilities, however superior, could not compensate for systematic coordination limitations imposed by design assumptions that had never been tested under coordination-intensive conditions. Mission effectiveness began to depend on coordination capabilities that fell outside the design specifications of systems optimized for individual vehicle excellence. The operational requirements had evolved beyond the fundamental assumptions that individual vehicle excellence would aggregate into mission-level effectiveness without requiring systematic coordination mechanisms. The mission continued according to individual vehicle parameters while failing according to collective coordination requirements that had become operationally critical but remained systematically unsupported by available capabilities. The failure chain that emerged from coordination limitations created cascading effects that transformed manageable individual vehicle challenges into systematic mission breakdown through predictable physics and information processing constraints. Each attempt to maintain mission effectiveness through enhanced individual vehicle performance amplified the coordination delays that were creating mission-level problems. The harder individual vehicle crews worked to optimize their autonomous operations, the more difficult it became to achieve the coordination necessary for collective mission success. Communication delay propagation followed predictable physics laws that became critical when coordination requirements exceeded communication system design parameters. Radio transmission delays that remained negligible for individual vehicle operations compounded geometrically when multiple vehicles required simultaneous coordination within tactical timeframes. The communication architecture optimized for vehicle-to-command reporting created systematic bottlenecks when distributed coordination demanded rapid information sharing between multiple vehicle crews operating under shared time constraints. The physics of information transmission imposed hard constraints on coordination effectiveness that could not be overcome through enhanced individual vehicle performance or operator expertise. Signal propagation delays across extended communication ranges created minimum response times that exceeded coordination requirements when rapid collective action became tactically necessary. These delays were fixed by fundamental physics constraints rather than equipment limitations, making them impossible to reduce through procedural modifications or enhanced operator training. Information processing delays compounded communication delays when coordination decisions required analyzing data from multiple vehicles simultaneously under time pressure. Command center information processing capabilities that functioned effectively for individual vehicle oversight became systematically overloaded when coordination demands required rapid analysis and response generation across multiple simultaneous vehicle inputs. The human cognitive limitations that remained negligible under individual vehicle operations became critical bottlenecks under coordination-intensive conditions. Decision-making delays cascaded through the entire operational architecture when coordination requirements exceeded the information processing capabilities of systems designed for individual vehicle support. The time required for command centers to analyze multi-vehicle situations and generate coordinated responses exceeded tactical timeframes when rapid collective action became operationally necessary. These delays were inherent in the information architecture rather than correctable through enhanced procedures or training. The feedback loop between coordination delays and coordination requirements created systematic amplification of mission problems that made recovery increasingly difficult over time. Each coordination delay increased the urgency of subsequent coordination requirements, which in turn increased the information processing loads that were already exceeding systematic capabilities. This positive feedback loop ensured that coordination problems would worsen rather than stabilize until systematic coordination capabilities could be restored. Navigation coordination problems followed identical patterns of cascading failure when individual vehicle route optimization proved incompatible with collective movement requirements under time constraints. Navigation systems that provided exceptional accuracy for individual vehicle movement lacked the computational integration required for multi-vehicle coordination, when synchronized arrival and coordinated coverage became tactically necessary. The algorithms optimized for individual vehicle efficiency generated movement patterns that became systematically suboptimal for collective mission objectives. The point of no return was reached when coordination delays exceeded the temporal margins available for mission recovery through available capabilities. Once coordination response times exceeded tactical decision-making requirements, individual vehicle excellence became irrelevant to mission effectiveness because collective action could not be achieved within operationally necessary timeframes. This threshold was determined by physics constraints and information processing limitations rather than equipment failures or operator errors. Vehicle-level performance optimization began to work against mission-level effectiveness when crews attempted to compensate for coordination delays through enhanced autonomous operations that further complicated coordination requirements. Efforts to maintain mission progress through increased individual vehicle performance created additional coordination demands that amplified the information processing bottlenecks that were already exceeding systematic capabilities. Communication capacity limitations became critical when multiple vehicles required simultaneous coordination within tactical timeframes that exceeded communication system design parameters. The communication architecture designed for individual vehicle reporting could not support the information transmission rates required for distributed coordination under time pressure. These limitations were inherent in system design rather than correctable through enhanced procedures or operator modifications. Information processing bottlenecks emerged at every level of operational architecture when coordination loads exceeded design capabilities. Vehicle crews encountered decision-making demands that exceeded training frameworks. Command centers experienced analysis requirements that exceeded processing capabilities. Communication systems reached capacity limitations under coordination loads that remained within individual vehicle operational parameters. The systematic amplification of coordination problems created mission degradation patterns that became irreversible once coordination delays exceeded tactical recovery margins. Individual vehicle capabilities remained optimal, while mission effectiveness declined because coordination requirements had evolved beyond systematic support capabilities. The failure mode was embedded in the relationship between individual system optimization and collective system requirements rather than correctable through enhanced individual performance. Navigation coordination breakdown followed predictable patterns when individual vehicle route optimization algorithms proved incompatible with collective movement requirements under operational time constraints. The computational systems optimized for individual vehicle efficiency could not generate coordinated movement patterns that optimized collective effectiveness within tactical timeframes. These limitations were inherent in navigation system design assumptions rather than correctable through enhanced operator expertise. Resource allocation conflicts emerged when individual vehicle optimization became incompatible with coordination requirements that demanded sacrificing individual efficiency for collective effectiveness. Standard operating procedures provided no frameworks for resolving these conflicts because the possibility of incompatibility between individual optimization and collective coordination had not been anticipated during doctrine development. The cascade failure pattern followed inevitable progression from coordination delays through information processing bottlenecks to systematic mission breakdown that could not be reversed through available capabilities. Each step in this progression was determined by physics constraints and system design limitations rather than correctable through enhanced procedures, training, or individual vehicle performance optimization. decision-making paralysis emerged when coordination requirements exceeded both systematic capabilities and procedural frameworks simultaneously. Crews faced tactical situations that demanded coordination responses beyond available capabilities while operating under procedures that provided no guidance for coordination decisions that required sacrificing individual vehicle optimization for collective mission effectiveness. The failure chain had become self-sustaining through positive feedback loops that amplified coordination problems faster than they could be addressed through available recovery mechanisms. Individual vehicle excellence continued to validate design assumptions, while mission-level coordination degraded beyond recovery capabilities because systematic coordination requirements exceeded design specifications for systems optimized for individual vehicle operations. Physical constraints imposed by communication physics, information processing limitations, and decision-making timeframes created hard boundaries on coordination effectiveness that could not be overcome through enhanced individual vehicle performance. The mission had evolved beyond the systematic capabilities of architecture designed for individual vehicle excellence, making recovery impossible through available resources regardless of individual component optimization or operator expertise. Stabilization attempts began with procedures designed to restore individual vehicle performance optimization under the assumption that enhanced autonomous operations would compensate for coordination difficulties. Command centers implemented emergency protocols that emphasized individual vehicle mission completion and autonomous operation under degraded communication conditions. These procedures had proven effective for individual vehicle problems and represented the logical extension of operational doctrine that had consistently validated design assumptions through measurable mission success. However, emergency procedures optimized for individual vehicle problems proved systematically counterproductive under coordination-intensive conditions because they reinforced the autonomous operation emphasis that was preventing effective coordination. Enhanced individual vehicle procedures increased the information processing loads that were already exceeding coordination capabilities while providing no mechanisms for addressing the systematic coordination limitations that had become mission-critical. Adaptive command structure modifications attempted to address coordination delays through improvised procedures that bypassed standard command center information processing, but created new failure modes without resolving fundamental coordination architecture problems. Direct inter-vehicle communication protocols were implemented to reduce command center processing delays, but these modifications exceeded operator training frameworks and communication system design parameters simultaneously. The improvised coordination procedures created systematic confusion about command authority and decision-making responsibility that amplified rather than reduced coordination problems. Vehicle crews faced conflicting guidance from standard procedures that emphasized autonomous operation and emergency modifications that demanded coordination responses beyond training capabilities. These conflicts created decision-making paralysis that worsened coordination delays while preserving none of the individual vehicle effectiveness that standard procedures were designed to optimize. Resource allocation attempts sought to maintain mission effectiveness through enhanced individual vehicle deployment that would compensate for coordination limitations through increased autonomous operation coverage. Additional vehicles were committed to mission areas under the assumption that individual vehicle excellence would aggregate into adequate mission coverage despite coordination problems. This approach followed established operational logic that had consistently produced mission success through resource allocation rather than systematic coordination. However, additional vehicle deployment amplified coordination requirements while providing no additional coordination capabilities, creating systematic overload of communication and command processing systems that were already operating beyond design parameters. Each additional vehicle increased coordination demands, while the systematic limitations that prevented effective coordination remained unaddressed. Mission complexity increased faster than mission capabilities could accommodate through available resources. Emergency communication protocols attempted to address information processing bottlenecks through modified procedures that prioritized coordination-relevant information transmission over standard individual vehicle reporting requirements. These modifications aim to reduce communication delays by eliminating non-essential individual vehicle status reporting in favor of coordination-critical information sharing. Yet the modified communication protocols exceeded operator training and equipment design parameters, while providing no systematic solution to information processing, limitations that were inherent in system architecture rather than correctable through procedural modifications. Operators faced communication requirements beyond training capabilities while using equipment designed for individual vehicle reporting rather than distributed coordination under time pressure. Coordination workaround attempts created secondary failure modes that preserved individual vehicle operational capability while making mission-level coordination increasingly difficult to achieve or maintain. Efforts to maintain autonomous vehicle operations under coordination-degraded conditions created operational patterns that were optimized for individual vehicle effectiveness, but systematically incompatible with coordination recovery attempts. Navigation coordination modifications attempted to address synchronized movement problems through simplified coordination procedures that reduced information processing requirements while maintaining individual vehicle navigation accuracy. These modifications aim to achieve coordinated movement through simplified protocols that could be implemented within existing training and equipment capabilities. However, simplified coordination procedures proved inadequate for tactical requirements that demanded precision coordination within tight temporal constraints, while the systematic capabilities for supporting complex coordination remained unavailable. The modifications addressed coordination procedure complexity without resolving the fundamental information processing and communication limitations that made effective coordination impossible within operational timeframes. Command authority modifications attempted to address decision-making delays through decentralized coordination responsibility that reduced command center information processing requirements while maintaining mission oversight capabilities. These modifications aim to enable tactical coordination decisions at vehicle level while preserving command center strategic oversight and resource allocation authority. Yet decentralized coordination responsibility exceeded operator training and procedural frameworks while creating command authority conflicts that amplified rather than reduced decision-making delays. Vehicle crews faced coordination decision requirements beyond training capabilities while operating under unclear command authority structures that provided no guidance for resolving conflicts between individual vehicle optimization and collective mission requirements. Recovery procedures emphasized restoring individual vehicle operational capability under the assumption that coordination problems were temporary complications that could be managed through enhanced autonomous operation while systematic coordination capabilities recovered through time and reduced mission complexity. These procedures followed established recovery doctrine that had proven effective for individual vehicle problems and equipment failures. However, coordination limitations were inherent in system design, rather than temporary complications correctable through time and reduced complexity, making recovery procedures ineffective for addressing systematic coordination problems while they continued to validate design assumptions through preserved individual vehicle performance. The harder the recovery procedures worked to restore individual vehicle excellence, the more difficult coordination recovery became. Tactical adaptation attempts sought to modify mission requirements to match available coordination capabilities while maintaining mission objectives through enhanced individual vehicle performance and autonomous operation. These adaptations aim to achieve mission success within systematic limitations by reducing coordination requirements rather than enhancing coordination capabilities. Yet mission requirements could not be reduced below coordination thresholds without abandoning mission objectives that had become coordination dependent through operational evolution beyond design assumptions. Tactical adaptation that preserved individual vehicle optimization proved incompatible with mission requirements that demanded collective action beyond individual vehicle capabilities, regardless of performance optimization. The stabilization attempts had created a systematic trap where every effort to maintain mission effectiveness through enhanced individual vehicle performance made coordination recovery more difficult, while coordination limitations prevented mission success regardless of individual vehicle excellence. Recovery procedures designed for individual vehicle problems proved systematically counterproductive for coordination failures that required different systematic capabilities. Mission status remained ambiguous because individual vehicle performance indicators suggested operational effectiveness, while coordination indicators suggested mission failure, creating assessment difficulties that prevented accurate evaluation of recovery procedure effectiveness. Standard mission assessment frameworks provided no mechanisms for evaluating coordination effectiveness separately from individual vehicle performance, making systematic diagnosis of coordination problems impossible through available assessment tools. The stabilization phase had demonstrated that coordination failures could not be resolved through enhanced individual vehicle performance or procedural modifications that preserved design assumptions about individual optimization and collective effectiveness. Recovery required systematic coordination capabilities that fell outside available resources and exceeded design specifications for systems optimized for individual vehicle excellence under autonomous operation conditions. Forensic analysis conducted following the mission revealed systematic evidence that coordination failures were embedded within design assumptions, rather than correctable through enhanced procedures, training, or resource allocation. Post-mission technical investigation demonstrated that individual vehicle performance had remained optimal throughout coordination breakdown, confirming that failure modes were inherent in system architecture rather than attributable to equipment deficiencies or operator errors. Communication system analysis revealed that information processing bottlenecks were inevitable consequences of architecture optimized for individual vehicle reporting, rather than distributed coordination under time pressure. Data transmission logs demonstrated that communication equipment functioned within design specifications, while coordination requirements exceeded systematic capabilities by predictable margins. The failure was embedded in design assumptions about information flow patterns rather than correctable through equipment modifications or enhanced operator procedures. Navigation system forensics confirmed that route optimization algorithms performed correctly for individual vehicle efficiency while proving systematically incompatible with coordination requirements that demanded collective movement optimization within tactical timeframes. Navigation accuracy remained exceptional for individual vehicle operations, while coordinated movement patterns became suboptimal because computational architecture lacked integration capabilities required for multi-vehicle coordination. Timeline reconstruction demonstrated that coordination delays followed predictable patterns determined by information processing limitations and communication physics rather than random failures or operator errors. Decision-making bottlenecks emerged at precisely the timeframes predicted by systematic analysis of information architecture capabilities under coordination-intensive conditions. The failure progression was deterministic rather than chaotic, confirming that coordination breakdown was embedded in systematic limitations rather than correctable through enhanced implementation. Operator performance analysis revealed that crews functioned at exceptional levels within their training and procedural frameworks while facing coordination requirements that exceeded systematic preparation and institutional support capabilities. Individual vehicle expertise remained optimal throughout coordination breakdown, demonstrating that human factors problems were structural rather than correctable through enhanced training or procedural modifications that preserved existing architectural assumptions. Command Center information processing analysis confirmed that coordination delays were inevitable under mission conditions that exceeded design parameters for individual vehicle support architecture. Processing capabilities that functioned effectively for autonomous vehicle oversight became systematically overloaded under coordination requirements that demanded simultaneous multi-vehicle analysis and response generation within tactical timeframes. Physical evidence eliminated alternative explanations for coordination failures by confirming that all individual components functioned within specifications, while collective capabilities proved inadequate for mission requirements. Mechanical systems maintained optimal performance. Communication equipment operated within design parameters. Navigation systems provided accurate individual vehicle information. The failure was systematic rather than component-specific. Long-term implications analysis revealed that coordination effectiveness could not be achieved through incremental improvements to individual vehicle performance or procedural modifications that preserve design assumptions about autonomous operation and collective effectiveness. Coordination capabilities required systematic architecture modifications that integrated coordination requirements into fundamental design assumptions, rather than treating coordination as external operational constraints. Regulatory analysis identified systematic gaps in operational doctrine that assumed individual vehicle excellence would translate into mission effectiveness, without requiring coordination-specific capabilities, training, or institutional support. Military reconnaissance doctrine contained no frameworks for evaluating coordination requirements, independently from individual vehicle performance or for developing systematic coordination capabilities that exceeded individual vehicle support architecture. Design philosophy assessment confirmed that engineering assumptions about task decomposition and resource allocation created systematic coordination vulnerabilities that remained undetectable under normal operational conditions. The vehicle design excellence that eliminated competition in individual performance categories actively hindered coordination capabilities through architectural decisions that optimized autonomous operation at the expense of integration requirements. Institutional analysis revealed that performance measurement, training, and career advancement systems systematically reinforced individual vehicle optimization while providing no support for coordination capability development. Success metrics corresponded directly to individual vehicle capabilities that made the Sahariana competitively superior, while coordination effectiveness remained invisible to institutional assessment and reward structures. Training system analysis demonstrated that operator expertise development emphasized individual vehicle mastery while providing minimal exposure to coordination decision-making and information processing demands that proved critical under mission conditions requiring collective action. Professional identity and operational confidence were anchored in individual vehicle capabilities that had consistently validated design assumptions, while coordination capabilities remained systematically underdeveloped. Systematic lessons emerged that extended beyond individual vehicle design to fundamental questions about complex system architecture and the relationship between individual component optimization and collective system effectiveness. The failure demonstrated that individual component excellence could guarantee collective system failure when coordination requirements exceeded architectural assumptions about task decomposition and resource allocation. Design doctrine modifications required recognizing coordination as integral system requirement rather than external operational constraint, demanding architectural integration of coordination capabilities into fundamental design specifications. Vehicle design philosophy needed revision to balance individual vehicle capabilities with coordination architecture requirements rather than optimizing individual performance while treating coordination as operational add-on. Training doctrine modifications required developing coordination-specific expertise alongside individual vehicle mastery, recognizing coordination as distinct operational capability requiring different cognitive skills, decision-making frameworks, and information processing capabilities. Professional development needed systematic exposure to coordination-intensive operations rather than assuming coordination capabilities would emerge naturally from individual vehicle expertise. Institutional modification requirements included performance measurement systems that evaluated coordination effectiveness independently from individual vehicle metrics, career advancement criteria that recognized coordination capabilities, and resource allocation frameworks that supported systematic coordination capability development rather than individual vehicle optimization exclusively. Operational doctrine modifications required mission planning frameworks that explicitly evaluated coordination requirements and systematic coordination capabilities, rather than assuming individual vehicle excellence would aggregate into mission effectiveness. Reconnaissance missions needed coordination-specific planning, training, and resource allocation, rather than treatment as collections of independent individual vehicle operations. The fundamental lesson was that optimal individual system performance and optimal collective system effectiveness could prove systematically incompatible under operational conditions that exceeded architectural assumptions about coordination requirements. System design philosophy required explicit integration of coordination capabilities rather than assumption that individual component excellence would naturally produce collective system optimization. The Sahariana failure demonstrated that engineering excellence could guarantee operational failure when design assumptions about task decomposition proved invalid under coordination-intensive conditions. Individual vehicle superiority became systematic liability when mission requirements demanded collective capabilities that exceeded architectural assumptions about autonomous operation and individual performance aggregation. The broader implications extended to complex system design principles across multiple domains where individual component optimization might conflict with collective system requirements under coordination-intensive conditions. The failure provided systematic evidence that coordination capabilities required explicit architectural integration, rather than assumption that individual excellence would naturally produce collective effectiveness. The investigation concluded that the failure was embedded within design philosophy rather than correctable through enhanced implementation of existing architectural assumptions. Recovery required systematic revision of design principles to integrate coordination requirements as fundamental system capabilities, rather than external operational constraints that could be addressed through individual component optimization.